What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Post-Gazette Sports Now YouTube channel and podcast network. I'm Noah Hiles. He's Andrew Destin. As always, the show is brought to you by the North Shore Tavern. If you love baseball, you'll love the North Shore Tavern. The interior there is wall-to-wall Pirates. There are appetizers, entrees, cocktails, and, of course, steak and seafood on a sizzling lava stone. Open every day. The North Shore Tavern is right across the street from PNC Park and is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. Andrew, we're wrapping up here. I would argue, it's the biggest homestand of the season. I feel like we've said that a couple times now, but we've been right pretty much every time we've said it. It just continues to become more important. That's what happens when the team you cover is in a pennant race. This team comes in here, 3 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks, who I believe entered the series 2 games ahead of them in the wild card standings. That sounds about right?
Yep.
Within grasp, yes, because if they would have swept, they would have passed them. They take 1, they lose 2. Both of the games in which they lost, Andrew, they entered the 7th inning with the lead in. Colin Holderman, the losing pitcher today. He was the losing pitcher Friday. He was also the losing pitcher Wednesday. He's taken the loss in each of this team's 3 last losses. Not great from him. A lot of decisions to get into. Just your overall thoughts here on this series loss to the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I guess first place to start would be with Colin Holderman, right? I mean, I think there were multiple stories of the series, which I know we will get into in full detail, but with Colin Holderman, I think a good place to start is just that it's not as if the velocity is diminished. Frankly, it's the inverse.
It's better.
He's
throwing 100 miles an hour.
It's as good as it's been all year.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, it was not there because he was sick and it was coming back. The velo is there. The sweeper is not there for him right now. The fastball location is not there for him right now. And we're seeing the results of that, whether it's home runs in Houston by guys like Mauricio Dubon or today on Sunday by Jock Peterson. The location is not there. The pitches are out over on the top of the plate. And that's the problem because this really, up until this juncture, was the one reliable reliever in the Pirates bullpen. It's no secret. We've both written about it. This Pirates bullpen has been a shortcoming of the team at large. It's bottom third in baseball, and Colin Holderman is at the forefront of those challenges right now, and I think that's a gigantic takeaway from this Diamondback series because it's certainly concerning for moving forward, specifically with what his role will be, because Derek Shelton had the opportunity to defend him and certainly did not do so in the press conference setting in terms of his role as being one of the Pirates setup men. Seems like there's a little bit of doubt and question about what that will be moving forward.
Yeah, and to build off of what you were talking about, I think the perfect transition is to talk about Derek Shelton here. Me personally, I think probably given Derek Shelton more credit than anyone on this beat. I mean, I gave him a B for his coaching this past month in my monthly report card. I gave him a B+ in June. I've given the man his flowers. I feel like when you're closer to the team like we are, you recognize some of the things these guys get right as opposed to just recognizing the things they get wrong when you're watching from afar. Today might have been his worst managed game all season, maybe of his career when you take into account everything at stake. There were multiple things that went wrong that he and his staff could have controlled. I mean, not building on their lead early. They had a runner on third with 1 out, as a lot of people in this press box have talked about. I'm not sure how big of a conversation it is online right now because it happened so early in the game. But you have Reynolds on first, IKF on third, 1 out. They're essentially giving him the base by how they were lined up defensively. You could have stolen Reynolds, but instead they kept him at first base. Cruz hits into an inning-ending double play, and now you allow Nelson to get into a rhythm the following frame. And rather than getting to their bullpen, their starter goes another 3 innings of shutout ball against you. So that's the first mistake. The second mistake is, I think, the most costly one they've had all season when you consider, again, what's at stake here. A series victory over a team that you need to beat. You need to catch. You cannot allow them to continue to gain ground while you lose ground. You go out and you acquire Jalen Beeks for a situation late in the game where you need 1 out against a left-handed bat. It is the top of the 7th inning. The tying run is on base. The best left-handed hitting power bat in the opposing lineup, Jock Peterson, is at the plate. Credit to Holderman. He got out Ketel Marte the prior at bat. who was also batting from the left-handed side of the plate. However, he's a switch hitter. I get keeping him in that situation. But when you have Jalen Beeks warm in the bullpen, Colin Holderman on the mound, this is the exact scenario of which you trade for Jalen Beeks. And if you're not going to deploy him here, why did you go get him? Because you had a depth guy with Josh Fleming. This is exactly why you went and got him, and they didn't use him. And what happens, Andrew? A home run to the deepest part of the ballpark. It's the 4th home run Holderman has now allowed in his last 3 1/3 innings, and it resulted in his 3rd straight loss. It's a very costly decision, and the reasoning was they didn't want to pitch Beeks 3 days in a row, right? They wanted to try to save him. Ironically enough, who starts the 8th inning, Andrew?
It would have been Jalen Beeks.
It was Jalen Beeks, and they have him face multiple right-handed batters until they bring in Woodford. I don't get the decision-making. We can move forward now. We get to the bottom of the 9th. 2 on, nobody out. IKF at the plate. The guy has a double and a triple. You're down by 2 runs in the 9th. They bunt. And it doesn't work. Easy out. Reynolds singles home a run. Granted, if he gets that bunt down, Reynolds a single ties the game. But guess what? He didn't get it down. Because this team just doesn't get bunts down, Andrew. We've seen that happen many times this season. And in a situation like that, when you're down 2 runs, I don't know why you are bunting, personally. And that's not anti-analytics, or, that's not me siding with analytics. That's just why you don't need 1 run. You need 2 runs. You need a swing of the bat that scores multiple runs, not a swing of the bat that puts runners in scoring position. They bunt him. Reynolds. Ironically enough, after that, Reynolds puts the tying run on 3rd base. What do the Arizona Diamondbacks do, Andrew? They bring in the lefty they acquired during the trade deadline to face the Pirates' best left-handed bat. What does he do? Strikes him out. Then he gets the final out. The game's over. Diamondbacks win. That's why the Diamondbacks won the National League last year. That's why they're going to probably make the playoffs again. It's because they execute in these situations, and the Pirates did not.
No notes? No. In seriousness, though, I think just to go back to that decision by manager Derek Shelton, we asked him about the bunt, the decision to do so. The rationale was we're playing for a tie. But the idea is if we're going to play revisionist history, right? Let's say Kiner Falefa does get the bunt down. You get runners at 2nd and 3rd with 1 away. Let's say Reynolds still hits that single to right. You're not scoring 2. It's too shallow. It's still, you're chasing a run. And also, in that scenario, you have 1, 2, 3 to open the order. It's Kiner Falefa, it's Reynolds, it's Cruz, and then it's Brian De La Cruz. Those are the 4 hitters that, in theory, if they're hitting at the top of your lineup, you would like all 4 of them to hit. This is not 8-9-1, not 9-1-2, where, okay, I can understand the rationale of why Michael A. Taylor bunted so many times earlier in the year.
Or even Grindal.
Very logical,
yes.
Right? And
yes.
Certainly it didn't work certain times when Michael A. Taylor popped up bunts or struck out, swinging on bunts or popped them out foul, all those sorts of things. Completely understand what the rationale was there. I really struggle with this one, where the rationale was to play for the tie and then also to then turn to David Bednar in a tie game, which then brings the argument of why was David Bednar not brought into the said game in the 8th inning? You had an opportunity to do so, but he was saved, in theory, for chasing a tie versus chasing a win or something of that ilk.
Or brought in the 9th inning, Andrew.
Yeah.
After Woodford finishes, they bring him back out there. He goes and surrenders a home run to Ketel Marte. Why are you letting Jake Woodford come in? And if this game really matters, right? It's still a 1-run game. Wouldn't you think that Bednar gives you the better chance there?
Especially with an off day on Monday. There's no
questionable decisions. And again, we're not sitting here pretending like we know more about baseball than Derek Shelton.
Correct.
That man has his job for a reason. We have our job for a reason. We have different resumes. I get all of that. But this is a game where coaching cost them a victory. And I'm comfortable saying that on this platform. And I think Andrew would be as well. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I just did kind of. It's okay.
Plead the fifth.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this was a bad day for their coaching staff. This is a bad day for Colin Holderman. It's a bad day for the Pittsburgh Pirates because right now you're looking at a team that's 1 game over 500 while a lot of the other teams ahead of them are starting to continue build. They're not. It's no longer a group of teams hovering around 500. If you look at the NL wild card race right now, it's a lot of teams 5, 6, 7 games over 500. Mm-hmm. While the Pirates are kind of stagnant of where they are. These wins need to start piling up. I understand they went on a run in July, but it can't just be one run. It's got to be multiple. And Andrew, as we look forward to end this year, these 3 games against the Padres, these 6 of their next 9 against the Padres, you're in a spot where you almost have to take 5 maybe? I mean, that seems like a tall task. But if you really want to get back into the mix, the thick of things, without having to gradually do it over time, I mean, these are games you have to win. There are not many more. You cannot afford many more blown 4-0 leads in this season.
Yeah, and it's especially challenging when we look ahead to this Padres series because what is the reality of this series that just took place against the Diamondbacks? Mitch Keller threw, and so did Paul Skenes.
Yep.
So correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe the rotation we're looking at, the 3 starters who are going to go for the Pirates, I believe that will be Marco Gonzalez, Bailey Falter, and
Ortiz.
Luis Ortiz.
It'll be Falter Tuesday,
yes.
Gonzalez Wednesday, Ortiz Thursday.
So, by all means, the rotation has carried this team all year. No question about that. However, you do not have Jones, you do not have Skenes. Or do you not have Keller, you don't have Skenes, and of course you still don't have Jared Jones, correct, who is trending in the right direction. But
yes.
I bring all that up to say that, these 6 of 9 games against the Padres, not to mention sandwiched around 3 games against the Dodgers in Los Angeles, this is a really trying stretch. You need this team, A, to be at full capacity, which it isn't quite, which is a problem. And also, B, this is just a really tough stretch where you need to be playing your best baseball. And I would say the Pirates have been playing solid on the whole, but you can't forfeit these kind of losses.
And here's what it really comes down to, Andrew, as you laid that all out. If this is going to be a playoff team, they find a way to win.
Yeah.
Because that's what playoff teams do. They don't point out how tough of a stretch they have. Because guess what good teams do? They beat other good teams. And they beat them more often than not. That's how it works. You find a way to win these games. We just saw a good team do that this weekend. A good team that, despite injuries, their best player was injured entering this series. They found a way to come back and win 2 huge games for them to keep them in the playoff hunt. That's what good teams do. And the Pirates are either going to do that in these next 10 days or they're not. And if they're not, that does not mean that this club is hopeless. There are still a lot of positives to take in to the offseason. But it's going to be frustrating, and we've said this multiple times, many times, that you're going to look back at the end of this year, and if they do not make the playoffs, there are going to be a whole bunch of losses that you can think back to and think, man, they really had that one. And if they just finish that one, or if they just finish this other one, they add up. And it's getting to a point now where that total is too large to overcome. We said a lot. Big games continue to happen. He's Andrew Destin. I'm Noah Hiles. You can check out all of our stuff at post-gazette.com. You can keep tuning into the Post-Gazette Sports Now YouTube channel and podcast network for all of your Pittsburgh Post-Gazette sports content. Take care.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.